Good afternoon, everyone. Adija, maybe just there are some questions which need clarification. For example, which email do we send to? Can you share the email there so that they know the email to share?
Yeah. I'll just share it right away. 2 minutes. Let me share first the attendance link. It's now available in the chat box, and I'll just share the email address you should send an email. Don't forget, make sure you have sent an email address that you have registered with in the EDX, not any other email. And the name of the assignment. If possible, you can also put into brackets the day. If it's a day 3 assignment, you can just include in the bracket day 3. Thank you.
Okay. While we are doing, we're finalizing. I'll just give you 1 to 2 minutes just to make sure that you take the attendance, get the materials from the OpenDX, and then we start. Okay, everyone, I think we can start. I hope you have done the registration for the day and you have already your materials. What we have also done is to upload some of the user guides for the topics which we have covered prior to this day. So if you go to these, for example, day 2, day 3, and also yesterday, you'll find that there are some user guide there or user manual which discuss more the how to or the steps on how to create either the metadata or, for example, the maps and etc. We'll be trying to extract this guide from the user guide, DHS user guide, and share it with you for easier access of this material. So presentation will be guiding you to give you an overall feeling of what you're covering, but also these guides will give you the step-by-step of how to create these or configure the DHIS2 system. Now we jump for today's session. Today we are going to cover dashboard in the beginning, and I'll take you through a very quick presentation followed by a demonstration. So, well, what is a dashboard? I think most of you and including me, we are aware or we have we understand dashboard based on the idea that you get into a car, you see some of the indicators which are there in the car where you find that it tells you if your fuel is full, half empty, and give you a little bit of a light there telling you that, okay, it needs a little bit of attention. The car dashboard also tells you, what kind of speed are you driving right now? It tells you a little bit of if you have any problem with the engine. Some car dashboard are more automatic than the others, and etc. So I think the idea of dashboard resonates or is more or less attached to what we see in the car dashboard. And with that, it comes with the information which it tells you that it only have gathered some key information which are necessary for you to know and know them while you're driving. And these key information, they should be presented in a way where you could only glance at it and then you understand that, okay, right now I'm driving 60 kilometers per hour. I need either to increase my speed or decrease my speed. So first, if we talk about car dashboard, is that it combines multiple information, key information, I would say, which are necessary for a driver while he's driving. But second, the way they are presented, they should be in a way that it's easier for the driver to get or to understand the implication of that particular information. That is, if I have low fuel, then I need to do something about that. Now, the same kind of application, we are using it in DHIS2. Now, for this particular session, we'll be covering the dashboard in DHIS2, and we'll also see the features of the DHIS2 dashboard, what it will have, who are you going to share with this dashboard, how are you going to manage this dashboard, and etc. Of course, we'll touch a little bit of the best practice on creating these dashboards. So I think the first question is, why do you need to create a dashboard? As a system administrator or as a M&E officer, you need to be able to, glance at a specific interface where you can view the performance of an organization or performance of the area which you're administrating, and of course, do something about it, act on those information which you have seen. So I think this is quite straightforward, that you need to have kind of an interface where it combines multiple information in one place where you can glance at it, understand, and also act on this. And of course, this information could be indicators which are most frequently visited, something which you are routinely working on, so you could actually see the trend on how the performance is going, either for the better or for the worse. So basically, the main purpose of the dashboard is to help you monitor your program progress. And this is more or less the purpose also of the car dashboard, to help the driver monitor the performance of the car, as well, of course, as any other problems which might occur during the driving of the car. So I think this is quite important when you're coming to create the dashboard, that you need to know that which are the key information which you need to collect and populate them in your dashboard. So that is the first. And of course, how regular are you collecting this information? For example, if you're collecting information, populating this information once in a year, and then you have a dashboard which is routinely accessed by a data manager, and you have put that particular indicator there. So, I mean, if you look at it in January, it will be more or less the same in March, in June, even in December, because more or less that kind of information is being populated only once in a year. However, if you know that, okay, I have a particular need to have a dashboard which looks at the trend for the last 5 years, so that I can, do some planning, policies, and etc., then that makes sense to actually have these annual indicators, so that you can know the progress, performance over the years, and see what needs to be done at the policy level and also at the planning level. So that, I think, is very important to understand exactly what kind of information you want to have it in the dashboard, how frequently you are collecting this information, and of course, what are the mechanism or what kind of best visualization which you can use to display this information. There are also other features, spacer text messages. We'll go and cover them and see how it works. Now, this is just a glance of a DHIS2 dashboard. We are going to make our own dashboard and see more or less similar thing like this. So basically, you could have multiple items in your dashboard. My colleague Adolf took you through how to create charts, how to create pivot table, and etc. So you could actually have these pivot table and charts there. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about maps, how to configure or how to create and save these maps. Then you could also have these maps in your dashboard. There are other issues or other items which you could have there. There are multiple of them. Several apps you could have, videos, as you can see there. You can have resources where you have uploaded your resources in DHIS2. You could also have them there. So these are some of the items which you could actually populate in your dashboard. Of course, the good part about the dashboard is that you could create your dashboard and then, of course, share with other colleagues there. Okay. So without further ado, let me just stop here and then go to the demo. I think I will get more information through the demo and see how we can create our own dashboard. I hope that yesterday you also took my advice and did a little bit of exercise in terms of creating your own map and save, because when I was doing the demonstration, I saved the maps and I'm planning to actually pull them here in the dashboard. So I'm hoping that you will also be able to populate your dashboard with not only charts and pivot table, but also maps. Now, whenever you log in, let me just log out. So whenever you are, when you log in, the first page which you see is the dashboard. Of course, in one of the sessions which you were taking through the system settings, there's an ability, or we have kind of configured the DHIS2 to redirect all the users to the landing page or the dashboard. So we tell that any user who has who's logged into the system, they need to land in the dashboard. And I think this is the best practice to ensure that whenever a user logs into the system, he sees first of all the output and then digest these outputs and then of course move to other areas. For example, if he wants to go to data entry or he wants to do further analysis. Now our dashboard page, it consists of several areas. First of all, the upper part I won't touch much because this is something which we have been covering for quite a while, where you have these menus here. This is something which I won't cover much. But I'll cover from this section here going down. So this top part, we call it a control tool, where you will see all the dashboards which you create here. And this control tool, you could actually kind of either if you have many dashboards, you could actually decide to show more, so it actually expand here. So if you have like 50 dashboard here, you will see all these dashboards as you can see here. But also this control tool, you could actually drag it up and down here so that you have a mechanism to see as much dashboards as you can. So this is something which you need to understand, that here a control tool is a place where the list of dashboard which you can view. It's not the list of dashboard which are on the system. A system can have many dashboards, but you only see the dashboard which either they have made public or they've been made viewable to you, or you have created those dashboards. Then of course the lower part here is where the dashboard items will be populated. So this is a place where we'll be viewing all our charts. I think if you go to the training line, you'll see the dashboard items. Now, I mean, creating a dashboard is quite a straightforward process. If you go here, there's a plus. When you click the plus, you've been created with this page where you could actually add items, dashboard items to your dashboard. So for example, there's a field for title, description, and of course, an area to search items for the dashboard. So for example, I'll just create, I'll call it MCH dashboard. And then I'll call just a dashboard displaying maternal and child So I've added the dashboard title, and then of course the description. Then I could actually say, do I need to have this dashboard, the name MCH dashboard here? Because basically I'm in the dashboard. So I could say, no, I don't need it. I could just have MCH, and then that's more informative. But if I think MCH is not more informative, then I can just say I need to name this maternal and child health. Then you have your dashboard there. If you want to add, of course, items, like I said, you will have to come here and search. Items are several items. You will see here visualization, where you will have charts, as you can see here. And then, of course, tables will be visual as this. These items here are listed alphabetically, as you can see. If we had too many visualizations, there'll be here an icon say show more. So you could actually click the show more icon, where you can view other or at least more visualization of this particular type. Below here you have the maps. You could actually see we have created these 4 maps, but if there are many as well, I said they will be having a link here, show more, where you could see, you can click and of course see a list of these items. I think they are listed around 25 items, but if you have more than 25 items, you can search it here and then the value will come. The same, of course, you have these addition items. This text box is more or less an item where we could actually enter your information, describing further your particular dashboard. If you want to add messages, you could also add here, and then of course spacer. This is more spacer to allow a space between one section of your dashboard and another. Now I'll just, and then of course, if you want to insert an item in your dashboard, you see that there's this word here, insert. So if you want to insert it, you need to click this insert. So sometimes people come here and then click this particular item. That's also something which works. But if you want to view that particular visualization, there's this icon there where you can click, and then it takes you directly to the visualization, as you can see it here. So either you want to confirm, okay, this visualization, is it the one? Yeah, if it's the one, you can actually go back to that particular visualization and then click it, as you can see it here. So as I said, if I want to add a visualization, either click the text, of course, and then of course you'll see the chart is populated here. So I'll just populate some of the charts. Let me just remove this first. I'll just populate this one, the second one. I will also populate ANC first. Yes. And then I'll populate also immunization by district, last 12 months. And then I'll go also for ANC for visit, insert it a little bit there, the map there, and then of course the BCG I'll insert. So these are the items which I've selected for my particular dashboard. Now, as you can see, these items, they're actually kind of listed in one column, as you can see it here. But I want to have a more better way of visualizing this. If I save it the way it is right now, the look won't be good. And maybe let me try to save it, and then we'll see. We'll come back to how to edit it. So if you have added your item and you think everything is fine, you have this button here on the left, top left, where you say save changes. And then of course you have this exit without changing. If you click exit without changing, nothing will be saved. So if I say save things, you will see that the dashboard will be created, the maternal and child health. And one thing to note is that the dashboard which has this is highlighted, the one which you are using right now. So it actually have these kind of color coding, somewhere like that. But as you can see, my charts are actually dashboard item are not really kind of viewed correctly, because they are only in one column. There's a lot of space on the right which needs a little bit of changing. So I could actually go back and edit. Now, if you want to edit, you just come here and edit. At the button of edit, you go back to the edit menu and then say, okay, how do I want to visualize my information? So this dashboard is maternal and child health. I would want, first of all, to have indicator for ANC first, to be on the beginning. I'll just push it like that. So as you can see that usually these chart items are kind of anti-gravity. If I just if I select it, move it on the right, it will just go up. As you can see here, if I just let it go, it will go up. So it somehow kind of have an anti-gravity option where they always move up if there's any option. And the good part is that once you click at the top, not at the inside the dashboard item, no, but when you click it at the title section here, then you are able to move an item from one location to another, as you can see it there. And then of course it's easier to move it like that. Now, ideally is I want to have the indicator items or indicator dashboard items here on the top, and then I want also to have the immunization part at the bottom here. That is what I want to have. So I group the indicators dealing with one program with, of course, another indicators dealing with another program. There is this, I'm not so sure if you can see this L here at the bottom. This L actually allows you to drag. If I click it here, it allows you to drag more or less either increase or decrease the size of the chart dashboard item. So this is quite useful if you want to increase the size or decrease the size. This kind of the L here on the bottom right corner allows you to do that. So for example, in our case, first I want to reduce the size, put it like here. And also I want this table or this chart to be a little bit longer. So I can do like this. It self-adjusts itself. I want also maybe, yeah, I can do something like this maybe. So I have the whole row as ANC trend analysis in 2019. I think I have here ANC1 as a table. And then I think I have also ANC fourth visit. I can just drag it like this. It goes up, and then I'll catch it here. And then I say, okay, maybe I can have it as a map here, and then push it, something like this. So what I've created, I've created these dashboard items here, ANC. The first one, which will cover the whole row. Based on my screen, of course, ANC, of course, first one, this is the table, I've put it here, and then, of course, for easy alignment, I've put also ANC fourth visit. Then, of course, below here, I have immunization. So I will say, okay, for that, I need to at least push it a little bit, and then the table can come here, increase the size, yes. And then I have here the immunization report last 12 months. I can also expand it to be the whole row. Okay. So I have first of all created my dashboard. I have added item into my dashboard, and now I have more or less structured my dashboard based on how I want my user to view this information. This is, I want them first to view indicators which are concerning ANC, which is more or less antenatal client program, and then of course, which of course indicators. And then we have ANC here, ANC fourth visit, and then below here we have the sorry, there's somebody with their mic on. Please remain. Aditya, can you help me with that?
Kama jua kata kuchukulia chakula pale restaurant la buffet pia liko zuri kama ile hapa, aliko zuri kama ile hapa, ina kama liko zuri.
Okay, I've managed to mute them. So after that, I've managed to link this, and then I'll just go and save the changes. If I save the changes, now I see my dashboard having this chart. Unfortunately, the title here says ANC Trend Analysis 2019, but the indicator here is actually BCG coverage under 1. So this is something which we might need to go and edit to reflect what we have. And I'll just show you what can be done to actually edit that. So I have the ANC here. I have also these other sections here, as you can see, and I have here the immunization part, which is below. So as you can see here, this is my my first dashboard. If I want to add another dashboard quickly, I can just say, okay, I just need one for immunization, and I'll search now for only charts which are dealing with immunization. So I have one immunization report here and another one, a chart. So I have two charts which are dealing with it. Quickly, I can just say, okay, let me expand this until here. And then I have the table here, which will be the same size as the chart. As you can see, I can save. And then I have now two dashboards here, one maternal and child, and as you can see, it's here, and then the other one is immunization, which is only dealing with immunization. Now, first thing which you need to note is that the dashboard here will be sorted by alphabetically. So that is the first thing. I have seen if you want to also kind of prioritize some dashboard, then there's a mechanism to do that. For example, if you want to prioritize maternal and child health, you could actually use this feature here, a star. If you click the star, then of course, this dashboard, as you can see now, it has kind of skipped the immunization and it is more on the front. So those dashboards which will be starred will start first, and then the rest of the dashboard will follow. That is one way of making sure that you sort out your dashboard items in your control box, as I said. So you might have like 10, 15, 20 dashboard. The ones which have been started, they will start first, and those which have not been started will follow. Important to note is that even if you have started them, they will be also sorted alphabetically. So that is something which you need to also look at. Sometimes we use numbers. If you start with a number, then it becomes easier. For example, if I unclick here, and then you see maternal here. If I edit and say, okay, I want it to start with 0, 1, and if I save it, you'll find that maternal and child health dashboard is the first one, and then immunization is the second one. So there are kind of couple of mechanisms which we use either to sequence your dashboard with numbers, or less you kind of arrange them either by favorites or by starring them, as you can see there. So that is one way of managing your particular dashboard. So that is first thing. Now you have your dashboard here, and I'm hoping that if you're having too many dashboards, you could actually search here for a dashboard. For example, if I just search immunization, you'll see now the immunization dashboard is here. You can click it, and then it comes there as it is. So that is more or less one way of accessing your dashboard. Either you can say show more, view all the dashboard, click it, or you can search it here, as you can see. Now, once you have created your dashboard, I'll go back a little bit there in creating the dashboard, but let's discuss more here on how to deal with these dashboards which are here now. Now, once you have created your dashboard, as you can see it here, there are a couple of things which you can do. First, if you think, let me go first to the maternal and child health. If you think that these dashboards are okay, then you could actually decide to share this dashboard. And I think we have already covered most of the sharing. I won't touch it much here, but the dashboard can be shared either by the public, it means that the public, you can actually allow all users within the system to view or to edit or no access. By default, as you can see, everything is no access. So you can decide. We encourage that administrators to create public dashboards so that all the users can view this dashboard. But private people or other users can create their own private dashboard and share with either one user or a group of users. Of course, external access, you can also allow external access or not, or you can allow it to a specific user. For example, I can decide I want to share it with Manya, who can edit and view. Maybe I just say I need him to view only. The icon changes here, as you can see, or I can say that I need it for, I think we have data managers. Yeah, district data manager data, where I can say that I also need them only to view. So that's one mechanism of sharing your particular dashboard. Another thing which is important to also view here is that we have this information icon here. Remember, we added the description information. So if you click this information, it gives you more information on that particular dashboard if you have added that description. So this is something which you can do and add it here and say, okay, what exactly is this dashboard? What kind of indicators this dashboard will have? Another key feature which is actually here in the dashboard is you could filter your information. So remember that we have most of these information, we have created them either at the national level, so that information, you can see this information at the national level. As you can see here, this dashboard item has BCG coverage for training land. If you go here, we have training land for the following periods, and for visits, this is for the district, and etc. So you could actually decide, okay, I want to filter my information and not only to drill down to a particular level, but a particular org unit, but to this org unit which the report has been created, but to another org unit. So if I just say add filter, and then I think we covered some of this part yesterday. If I say organization, you could actually say instead of training land, I want it for animal region. So you are filtering your information for this particular region. If you confirm, now all the information which you are viewing in that particular dashboard will be for animal region. As you can see now, it is written now animal region, and here there's a notification telling you that you have filtered your information for animal region. We can drill down now. You can see all these, it's animal region. Even the map here, it's only for animal region. We could also see the map here, and also this table, as you can see. So everything can be filtered based on the information which you have added there. But I could also go further and say, yes, but I also wanted to filter this period. So I could say, maybe I want only months. And this is something which we can try out and say, okay, I want only months in 20, let's say, I can push them here and confirm. So you can see now even the chart has changed now. The first chart, which had all the months in 2019, but it only pushed now period. This is June 2019 until December 2019. And of course, there's a notification here telling us that you have filtered your dashboard by organization unit, but you also filter it by period as well. And this also cut across all these information. You can see here, it's also June to December, and etc. here, and etc. So you could also see here the information is only June to December. So whatever you filter here, it will be applied to all the dashboard items which you have in your dashboard. This is something which is quite useful, because you might notice something, either a good performance in a particular area or a bad performance in a particular area. So it allows you to drill down and see exactly what which organization unit has performed either bad or good, and of course, which period, or for example, which period have they performed worse or good. So this is something where you could drill down, understand exactly where's the problem, and of course, do the intervention without going to the specific data visualizer or pivot table or map. So it allows you to a very quick drilling down and up and see what is working and what is not working. If you want to remove the filter, you just click here the remove, and then of course you are able to go up and reset to how the dashboard was created in the beginning by the system administrator. So that is one way of working with your dashboard. You create your dashboard and then of course allow the users to work with the dashboard. Now, another thing which we need to look at it is that even though you have created this particular chart using this particular format, the users are also able to change some of the graphical display which have. And these are more or less a temporary change. It's not something which once they change, they'll be affected throughout the chart to all the user. No, this is something which can be changed when they are viewing. If you look at this analysis here, there are 3 buttons on the right. If I click them, I see here an option to view this particular graphical output as a table, as a map. Of course, open it in the application which it was created, and also show interpretation and detail. Now, if I just say table, automatically DHIS2 changes the display output from a chart to a table where you could view this. As I said, this is something which is temporarily viewable for the user, for that specific user, and it doesn't mean that it is saved across to all the users. So this is something which you can view it here. You can say a view map. Now, a tricky part about view map, and I'm hoping that you are aware, is that map takes at least a fewer indicator than what you can display in charts or in pivot tables. So sometimes you might click view map and then it gives you a little bit of a hiccup. So this is something which you might need to be aware that the way you have designed your visualization might be a little bit challenging. For example, I can take, I think there are some other visualization which are more up to it for the map, but sometimes it's quite difficult if you just say view as map, and then it sometimes gives you a little bit of a challenge. For example, this one we have a challenge, so you need to also be able to identify these issues. You could also open this item in the Data Visualizer app. If I just click it here, another tab will open, as you can see here, and it will open this chart here, and then you can either do some modification. For example, this chart was written ANC a trend, but it has BCG. We want to change that. We could say, no, we need ANC, remove this, ANC, and see how it works. Yes, we have edited. Yes, we want to save it. So ANC trend, we have the trend. Maybe it will be good to have the real trend. This is the line, save it. And then I can save it. If I go back to the dashboard here, I refresh. Now I see the ANC trends in 2019. So it's actually kind of useful in a way that you could actually go to that specific application here, make the changes there, save the changes there, and of course the changes are visible to all to that particular dashboard without doing cache removal or another thing. Now, we also have interpretation here. Yesterday, I touched a little bit of interpretation when we were creating maps. You could actually add also interpretation here in the dashboard directly if you have noticed something. For example, if you click this show interpretation, there's a box here on the below here, which will come. Maybe we want to investigate why in October we had very high or higher ANC first visit compared to all the months in 2019. We want to ask our data manager to clarify something like that. So, I mean, same process as what we have done yesterday. You have the interpretation where it tells you who has created this interpretation, when was updated, how many people have viewed this interpretation, and of course, the sharing part. Maybe I could here write, maybe here I could write at our data manager, I think his name is Manya. Can you tell us why more ANC first visit in, I think it was October 2019 compared to other months. Yes, so you could actually do this, and I think there are a couple of options here where you could actually decide that, okay, there are some areas which I want to highlight. For example, I want to highlight the indicator name itself. That is the ANC first visit coverage. I want to highlight, I could actually do a bold here. Yeah, but also can you do the shortcut Control B where it actually kind of highlights, and also maybe for October, I just want to italize it. You could actually do that, something like this. If you save, of course, this interpretation will be shared with Manya, because I've tagged Manya here. And of course, anybody who has registered himself, remember yesterday I told you about subscribing to this particular chart, then of course you'll be getting this information. The important part is that these interpretations are sorted, and the ones which are the latest one will be appearing on the top here, as you can see. So the latest one will be on the top, and then of course the previous one will be below. I think this is something which we covered. So you could actually continue to write this interpretation. If you are done with the interpretation, you could go back here and say, okay, hide the interpretation details, then the interpretation is hidden. So that is a way of ensuring that you continue to communicate with the colleagues in the system, tagging each other, and ensure that people are getting this information, or at least notification, and then they can respond in a timely manner. So that is how you can navigate, or at least you can work with some of these dashboard items, as you can see. Now, I'm hoping that is a little bit clear. What we have so far here is you have your dashboard, you have your control tool here, you have some of the features here, as you can see, the filter where I've shown you the period organization unit. I've not touched yet the dimensions, but I think this is something which is also quite straightforward if you want to filter your information by this dimension, for example, facility types and etc. I wanted us to go back to the editing a little bit. I want to edit a little this section more. So I have here maternal and child health, but I have one program here, ANC, which have 3 indicators or 3 charts, and then I have also BCG, or at least immunization indicator, covering the lower part. But I want to inform my user that, okay, this upper section is covering the ANC program, and this lower section here is covering another program. Now, you could actually go back and do that using a few features. For example, one, you can use this text box here to add it here, and then of course, write something which will be useful to your to the user who will be accessing the dashboard. For example, you could write it here and say ANC section, telling the user that, okay, the first section will be for ANC. So you could actually put it here as a little bit of longer, and then I can add another section or another text box. It's actually here, if you just add, and then this one, I'll call it immunization. So as you can see, it's easy just to drag it. So, and then of course, as I said, if you place your cursor on the title area, then you have this navigation option where you can scroll it a little bit down. So I just want to drag it down until I reach the BCG section. So I know that here there are ANC indicators on the top. And then of course, below here, I have immunization section where we have immunization indicators. Simple as that. If I save, of course, my dashboard will here be telling me, okay, ANC section, that, and then of course, immunization section. So you could actually add a text box which tells the user that, okay, this section contains, or the following section contains specific kind of indicators, because sometimes you might have a very long dashboard, or you could actually decide that instead of these sections, I am going to add spacer. Now the spacer is just a space. As you can see here, if I just insert it, it's just a space where it will allow you. It will allow you to have a space. You cannot write anything in the spacer. I just save it here. You'll see it's just a space, kind of giving you a space from one section to another. Maybe for you to see it clearly, let me drag it on below one chart to another. For example, if I put a spacer here, I save it. You find that ANC section, as you can see, the text box, the chart here, and then there's a spacer here where it kind of give a breather between this row here and the top row here. So basically the spacer is there for that particular purpose, is to give you a breather, while a text box is there to kind of giving you information about more information if you want to add more information. One thing I'm hoping that you are noticing is that if you have a very long dashboard, what DHIS2 dashboard does is that it loads the dashboard which are visible to you. So sometimes if you are at the top, this dashboard item will be loaded first. However, if you scroll down, you'll find that some of these charts are loading. For example, this one is loading. So basically, DHIS2 tries to load this information as you scroll down. So you don't have to worry to have, like, let's say 50 items or so. You could actually have all these items in the dashboard, but the way these dashboard items are loaded depending on where you're actually viewing that particular dashboard. So if you're viewing in the top, the bottom part won't be loaded, so you have a better performance in accessing your information. If you scroll down, and then of course some of these information will be pulled from wherever they are. So this is at least a way of combining your information, key information, in the dashboard, and then of course populate them in the dashboard. Best practice, what we have, the best practice is that we usually have a dashboard, generic dashboard, which covers multiple programs. You know, for example, if you are talking about Ministry of Health, where they have too many programs, let's say malaria, TB, HIV, maternal and child health, and et cetera, and et cetera. You might have 1 to 2 to 3 to a couple of dashboards which combines multiple indicators from different programs, so that the managers can view this information and make a sound decision. And then you can decide also to design specific dashboard which will cater for specific programs, because a specific program will have a specific demands. But however, a data manager can have a data manager at the district level can have a different demand. So you might need to see what kind of generic dashboard you create for public use. which caters all programs, and then of course what kind of dashboard you create, which will cater specific programs. Now, I'm going back to edit. I just wanted to show you a few things which are more or less on the final part. If you want to delete any item, you see this delete button. I think this is straightforward. If you want to delete the spacer here, you can just delete it and then it's no longer there. If you want to translate this particular dashboard, this is straightforward, where you could actually select, and then of course what you can change or what you can translate is the name and the description. That is something which we have already covered. You could also decide to delete. This is something which you can do to delete, but yeah, for now we can just save. And as you can see, once I've saved, that spacer is no longer there. It is kind of removed, as you can see it there. One last thing before I return this one last thing before I return it to Hadija is that when you're creating, I think this is we covered also in maps and as well as in Visualizer, when my colleague took you through that visualization. When you're creating these items, dashboard items, for example, the charts, the table, and etc. Sometimes we actually set to have these information displaying to a specific org unit. For example, if I just go here and say open in Data Visualizer, if you look in the organization unit, if I click it here, you see that we have selected to be, I could say more or less a static org unit. That is, this chart will be for a user, or at least displaying information at the training lab. Now, if you're making a dashboard which is generic, more or less covering data manager at the national level, at the regional level, at the district level, then having this option might be a little bit difficult, because your user might be at the, assigned at the animal region, or for example, in one of the districts, for example, bird district, while you have designed your chart to be viewed or to display information at the national level. So that will give a little bit of a problem, and you'll find some other user will say, okay, your dashboards are not working. And one option of doing that is to select this user org unit or user subunits. That is more or less something we call as a relative org unit. I think we've covered something like static and relative period, but here you could actually use this option and say that instead of having training, select a static training line, I could just have user org unit. If I say user org unit, I'm comfortably knowing that even if my user is at the regional level, they will still see this report, but composing information at the regional level. And of course, the same also in the district and etc. If I just use this user org unit update, of course, here it will be giving me the training line. Then I can go back to the so here it will still telling me it is for training. Now I assume that we have another user. For example, we have shared this with Manya. Manya can view this particular dashboard, and we have shared them. I'm just dealing with this particular chart. So for example, let me go to user and then just assign Manya to be at the regional level. So for example, Manya is now view data output analytics at the regional level. Yes, and then yeah, just to do so that we are okay with the password as well. And just save it. And then if I log out, I'll say Manya. The dashboard is here, maternal and child health, as you can see. But the chart is a little bit loading. Yeah, it's taking a little bit of some time to load. Okay, what is the problem with the manual? I see the chart is taking, most charts are taking some time to load. I'm not so sure if it's my connection. Yeah, I think it's something with my connection or the system itself. Yeah, but while it's loading, ideal is that this particular, oh yes. So I think one thing is he's a super user, so he should be using, should be viewing all these, should be able to view this. But just to make sure that he's able to view these items, let me just go and make sure. And this also raises another question which you need to ensure that this information okay. That is, whenever you are sharing your dashboard, you could actually share your dashboard with a particular user, but you need also to be careful with your dashboard items. If your dashboard items you have not also share with those users, then they might be getting some of the problems which you are seeing. So as you can see, a public access. So I can just say, okay, can view. Yeah, maybe I can be specific also and say Manya, but Manya, this one can view. Okay, so I have shared this, as you can see. Now we log out. Yeah, it's still trying to load. Okay, shouldn't be a problem. I'll have to investigate and come back to you on that, but it shouldn't be a problem at all. So this is one of the ways which you might need to take into consideration while you're sharing some of the items in terms of the data visualizer, the maps, and also the dashboard, that everything needs to be shared with that particular user so that you don't end up sharing a dashboard which is a little bit empty. So that is something which you might need also to take into consideration. Do we have questions so far? I think we are on the 1 hour mark. Do we have a question? I see people asking questions, but they are talking about data entry and not dashboard. If you have questions, please post them there, and then we can discuss or chat. Adija, back to you.
Thank you, Wilfred. I hope you have been asking if there are questions, and yet we don't have questions yet. Perhaps they're waiting for the Q&A session. So I can say that marks the end of our session in metadata configurations to DHIS2. And the following session will just be on more or less setting up the instance, different features. it being global features or user features. In general, we can just say the system settings. So I'll just walk you through this session myself. Okay, can you see my screen? Somebody to confirm via voice.
Yes, Adija, we can see.
Okay, so as I've mentioned, this session will be more or less into DHIS2 system settings and user settings. And we'll just look at three main parts: the global system settings, user system settings, but also a couple of data administration tasks where we are able to do a couple of items that will help us in improving the system performance, but also make sure that we are able to see all the data that we have in the system into the analytic tools. So as I've mentioned, the global system settings will look into a couple of issues again: the general settings, they are more or less into analytics settings. There are settings that are very specific into analytics part, the appearance of the system, just to have the feel and look of the system, some of the email settings, the access settings, calendar issues, and a couple of issues on in case you need to do data import. As we all know that DHIS2 allows to receive data from other systems, it being DHIS2 itself, but also other systems. And on the user system setting, user settings, we look on how you could play around with your password or the interface itself in case you're not comfortable probably with the language that has been configured and you want a different interface language. You can also look into that. And as I've mentioned, on data administration, we look at on how to get the summary of the system objects and values, but also how to run some of the resource tables in case you have made some updates to your metadata, and make sure that everything is aligned from the database into the analytic table as well, so that you're able to retrieve data as per the changes that have been made, but also how we could play around with the analytics and make sure that we are able to visualize our data in the analytic tools. A good example, it's on pivot table and chart assignment. People had so many complaints that I've captured data, but I cannot see them in the pivot table. And at some point we had been talking about the analytics. So yeah, let's get straight to the demo or into the system so that we can see how we can move around these items. So yeah, here's the DHIS2 system. First of all, as usual, you need to log in into the system. And After logging into the system, we will just go straight away first to the user settings, where you'll have to go into, if you see this sort of a ball or sphere icon with initials of your names, you just click that, then go to the account settings. Under the account settings, it's where you can see, you can edit your profile. You could also make some changes to your settings, which are directly linked to user and not the entire system, but also the account settings, change the password and everything. But also you can view your profile, and you can also get the details about the DHIS2. So starting with the profile, I think we had a session on system users, how we saw how to create users, as well as the user role. So by the time we were creating users, we had to capture a couple of demographic information about the user, and this is where you can make some changes. It can be a name. You might want to change your name, or you might also want to change your email, or rather you want to add a profile picture to your account. Or more or less, if you have some changes in your phone number, but also other informations like your job title has changed. I'm not so sure if the gender, there'll be a time gender changes, but you can also change your birthday, nationality, employer, education, and a lot of other demographic details, even the WhatsApp numbers and everything. And another thing you could set up, it's also the user system settings on more of the interface language. As I've mentioned, you might get into an instance that has been set with English language, but more or less you're not comfortable about it. So you have an option to select a different interface language. It can be Arabic, let's say, and just you don't need to click anywhere to save. Automatic, the system saves just after you have made some changes. But also you can change the database language as well as the style. We all see that we have this more of the blue color around the system, but you can also change into green, India, Myanmar, or Vietnam. So again, while we were creating a couple of metadata, for instance, data elements or indicators, we kept seeing places where we had to type in a name of the metadata and the short name. Now, this is another place where you could select which one should be used in the analysis part. For instance, you're in a pivot table and you just want to visualize your metadata objects using the short name. This is where you have to come and tell the system pick names or pick short names. You can also enable email notifications. But speaking of email notifications, on the system, when we get to look at the system settings, you'll see where to configure the emails so that if you need these emails, it has to be enabled first. If you have not enabled the emails, then you won't be able to get the emails notification. Same applies to the SMS notifications. You need to make sure that the SMS gateways are configured so that you're able to communicate with DHIS2 via SMSs. Another thing you could want to change at some point could be your password. Unfortunately, the way DHIS2 works is that you cannot make changes to username. Once configured, then you cannot make changes unless you delete an account and make sure you create another account. But you can change a password. You just have to enter your old password, then capture the new password and make sure you repeat it, then the password will be updated. So you can also want to sort of get a summary of your profile, and most of the time this is applicable in case DHIS2 has been configured to capture data as well via the Android platforms. You might get a client that tells you, maybe I cannot access this, I cannot access that. And you might want, this could be a very quick place where you could just see the profile and be able to see, or maybe perhaps you have a user role that has been restricted due to access a certain item. So this could be a quick way to troubleshoot issues. As well as you can get the information about the DHIS2 itself. It can be the version of the instance, the build version, and so many other details. When was the last time the analytic tables was generated? And again, this can also be a quick way to troubleshoot some issues in case you're using an Android app connected to the DHIS2, as I've mentioned before. Someone can again come to you, maybe I don't have this, or I cannot see that, and maybe probably they're using an outdated DHIS2 version. So you can also see and make sure that, oh, it's not there, maybe this version has issues or that. So that was on the part of the user settings. I think we can now just go to the system settings itself. You just have to come to the app tray, search for system settings, and make sure you select. Remember we had clicked somewhere Arabic. Now this is the impact. Let me return it to English. And at some point, when you're making changes, you might need to log out and log in again to make sure that the changes are reflected. Hey, Arabic. Seems like it persists. Let me go back to user.
Yeah, I help you with that because I can speak Arabic and I can read.
Yes? What were you saying? I couldn't hear.
If you want, I can assist you to change the language. The first one, yes, you go. Yes. No. There's no email here. There's no language. Sorry. Yes, here.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll just log out and make sure I log in again. Yeah, so I'm back to English. So I'll just once again go back to system settings. Yeah, here it's where we have a couple of items to be configured as well. We have the general, analytics, save appearance, email, and so many others. So starting with the general, first of all, we have a field here which says maximum number of analytic records. This is where you get to enter a number of records that you want your analytics to process. And by the time you're entering values in this field, you really need to be careful because you might enter a very low number, and that will be a problem by the time you're trying to query data, because if you have more data compared to the number that you have configured here, it will be restricted. You have an option to use unlimited, but again, this you need to be very careful with the unlimited as well, based on your server resources. If your server resources are not enough, selecting unlimited might affect the performance of the system. So if you mess up with this field, then you might end up messing up with the performance of the system. So you need to be very careful with this. Again, we also have another field for maximum number of SQL view records. DHIS2 allows you to query data direct from the database, and they're normally called SQL views, and you'll be able to present them in the interface, on the interface. So again, if you restrict, let's say, to 50,000 and you happen to query a very huge number of data, then it will also tell you that whatever that you have queried, it's beyond, it won't be able to be visualized. So at this point, we recommend to use unlimited. Another thing, we have cache strategy. This is normally used to restrict a couple of requests back to the server, just to make sure that we don't affect the performance of the system. So at some point, you might want to allow the system to cache items for some time. And this is because maybe you're querying something this time around and it will go fast direct to the server. Of course, it uses more resources for the first time. But if it's cached, the next time, I mean, the request won't have to go again back to the server, but rather it will retrieve from where it has been cached, more or less into your browser. So this, sometimes it's good because it minimizes so many traffics back to the server. We have these fields for infrastructural items, it being indicators, data elements, or periods. And this we normally assign groups if you have a group of indicators or data elements. And they are normally used when dealing with maps, because they are more into representation in terms of locations. We have also the default relative period for analysis. I am not sure if you had observed this, but every time when you're doing querying of data, maybe on maps or data visualizer, could be a pivot table or chart, when you get into the period dimension, you always find this ticked. And this is ticked because it has been configured to be the default relative period for analysis. So you might want to change this instead of last 12 months and get to last 3 months. That will depend on your needs. We have feedback recipients. These are more or less, users of the system in case you need people to get feedback via most of the time it's on the dashboard. As you can see, we have a couple of items here, and it's normally assigned to a group of people rather than individuals. And these are normally those people that they are able to see the feedback and assist the end users on whatever feedback that has been shared. We also have the maximum offline organization unit levels. By default, it's selected facility. And being selected facility, this will allow you, even if you're not online, you can still retrieve the entire hierarchy, because to get into the facility, you'll have to select the region, the district, and the long way to the lower level. But if you happen to select, let's say, region or district, that means you're restricting to retrieve lower level org units within the hierarchy in case you're offline. You can also configure a standard deviation factor, and this is normally used when you're looking for, when you're doing the outlier analysis. So you might want to see if something is beyond 2, or it's more into those things that when you're looking at things that they have deviated from the factor that you have set it. This is a standard deviation factor. You can also configure an area code to wherever the system that has been deployed. For instance, we are in Tanzania and we might want to enter 255, especially when you're dealing with issues that there might be at some point include the phone, communication via phone. Again, you can also enable multi-organization unit forms. How does this work is that during the data entry, this is more connected into the data set, and you might want to use a data set on a certain district, but be able to capture data for the lower level, let's say facilities, at once, instead of going, let's just keep in mind that this has been selected, and let me go to the data entry so that I can show how this is applicable. Let's say we have a data set configured, capturing data at facility level. And if I come and select, if that enable multi-organization unit has been enabled into the system, if you get into, let's say, a district level. First of all, I hope we all remember that in the data entry, we first need to select the organization unit, then select the data set that you want to capture data for, then period. So this time around, I've enabled multiple organization units, meaning that I need to pick one form and be able to enter data for multiple organization units at once. And that will include one period. If it's July, then it's going to be July across. So let's say, again, I have my data set assigned to facilities, and this time around, I've selected district region. If I select district region, you'll see we have kind of a different, different selection as from what we have been having a couple of days when we're doing the data set sessions. See, this is one of the added item, which is sub-units, sub-organization units. And this appears because we have enabled again the multi-organization units. So I'll be able to see a list of all the data sets that have been assigned below the district level. So this time around, I've selected the BAD district, and these are the three data sets available. So I'll go for MCH. After having MCH, as usual, I'll select my period. Assume it's June, is 2020. You can see it's sort of a bit different data entry. We have data elements aligned, but on the rows, we have a list of facilities. And this is a list of facilities attached to the BAD district only because I've selected BAD district. So on this data entry, I'll be able to capture MCH data for June 2020 for all the facilities that are under the BAD district. This cut across to all the data elements that have been assigned to this data set. So let's go back to system settings. So yeah, that was on the general settings. We can also acceptance required before approval. DHIS2 systems has what we call data approval, but unfortunately it has not been covered in this academy. But it supports like not to use data until it has been approved. So at this point, you might also want to make sure that you accept data before approval. So that was more or less on the general settings. But again, we have some settings on the analytics. It happens to have repeated. It was also part of the general settings, the same as I've mentioned. Most of the time, when you go into the analytic tools, you'll find a certain period, relative period has already been ticked, and this is because of what has been configured prior. But also we have a list, few of them, like 4 of them that you might want them to be hidden in the analytics apps. And this is because you might find yourself that you are not using these periods. So you can just tick each that you don't want to show up in the analytic tools, or all of them, depending on your needs. You can also configure the financial year. We know we have 3 types of financial years, those that starts from April, July, or October. So if you configure the financial year to start October, that means whenever you query data on the analysis and the period selected being financial year, that means the system will only go and retrieve data from October to September. Again, we have the cache issue. As I've explained earlier, that this is more or less used to store data at some point so that we can reduce back and forth requests to the server. But you can choose to use public or private. Private is normally used when you're dealing with very sensitive data, and this will restrict. Data won't be cached, but rather, whenever you want data, it will have to be pinged back direct from the server. But if you select public, then the data will be cached in your browser. We also have analytics cache mode. It can be progressive or fixed depending on your needs. We have a maximum number of years to hide unapproved data in analytics. You can also want not to be checking a couple of data that have been approved by the time you're trying to query data. And again, this is many of the items in the analytics, they're more or less to make sure that you improve the performance of the system. So by not checking the approval every time you're querying data, that means the system won't have a very huge workload of making sure that whatever that you're trying to pull it has been qualified to be pulled. So if you never check, that means it will just go and pull everything that you have in the system. Respect category option start date and end date in the analytics table export. I believe at some point when we were creating the category options, we had some fields that were capturing the start date and end date. But the best practice was not to insert any date there, because this will create a limited time for the categories option to be used. And I don't believe if you would want to be creating same categories more than one times while they're there in the system. So if you leave them open, it's just a matter of reusing them whenever you want them. So if you want to query data by using the start and end date of the category options, then you'll have to select this. You can also put analytics in maintenance mode. This is normally used when maybe you're doing some maintenance to the server and you don't want some of the items to be receiving some queries back directly into the server until you're finished with the maintenance. So if you put this, then some services will be unavailable, and however, people can still proceed with some other issues in the system, but you won't be disturbed into the server. You can also skip zero data values in analytics table. I understand some zero, it's also a data, and at some point it might be really useful in the data quality, but again, they also have impact into the database. If you keep storing them, they'll go and take some space in the database and affect the performance of the system. So in case they are really not necessarily needed, you might want to skip them. So you just have to tick and make sure these will be skipped. They won't be stored in the analytic tables. We have the server settings. This is more or less into server issues, and it's normally covered during the Server Academy. Would rather go to appearance settings. There's another language, select language, but this is a bit different. This is normally used, I believe you have seen, we have, let me first log out so that I could show you something before I get to explain this part. See, we have a couple of items here, like we have this DHIS2 documented here on the, I'm not sure how should I call it, on the top left of the screen, but we have some footer powered by DHIS2 as well here. So by going into that setting, it's where you'll be able to change the words on your footer and the top left of your login interface. Let's say I don't want to have DHIS2 on my top left, and my footer, I don't want it to be the way it is right now. So to be able to change that, as you can see, by default, it has picked English language, but these fields become inactive. The footer sides or right side footer, notification, everything becomes inactive. So to be able to put in whatever that you want to appear on the login page, you'll have, first of all, make sure you select the system default, the fallback. After selecting that, it's where you'll be able to capture whatever that you want to appear on the login page, both on the footer part, left and right side, as well as on that part, the upper part of the DHIS2. Let's say I want to say maybe Tanzania. By doing so, if I log out, see, it has already changed from DHIS2 to Tanzania. So you can just do that and put in whatever that you want, depending on how you want to brand your DHIS2 instance. Okay, so we have other settings right here. Again, the style repeats itself from the general settings. Instead of the blue color that it shows here, you can change into, let's say, green. And we have the start page. Normally, the instances have been configured to have the dashboard as the landing page of the system. But if you don't want to have the dashboard, you can as well change and assign to any of the landing page that you wish to have. That could be the pivot table, or it could be the data administration. So if I select, let's say, data administration, and if I log out the system and log in again, see, that will be my landing page. So whenever I log into the system, I'll first be directed to the data administration page instead of the dashboard page. So you can also type in the link to help in case someone needs a certain help. As long as it's related to DHIS2, you can just type in a link. Maybe it could be a link to, as it is right now, this is a DHIS2.github, hoping that if you go into this link, you'll be able to get a lot of information about the DHIS2. Also, you can select a flag. These are national flags if you want to, and we have a couple of flags from different countries. We would want to put a national flag for, let's say, Uganda. Then by the time you're logging into the system, you should be able to see Uganda. See, it has changed. So again, interface language, you can also select a different language. However, English is the default one, and you'll be able to access the system via the language that you're comfortable to. However, selecting the interface language doesn't mean that it will also go and overwrite the metadata that you have created. Let's say the data elements or category options or whatever. No. If you need specific metadata to be changed, then you have to go to, I mean, like if you need metadata to change, you'll have to go to specific metadata and translate them to the language that you want. This will not amend to all metadata. You can also select the database language that you're comfortable with, depending on the available list. Again, property to display in the analysis modules, as I explained earlier, it could be a name or a short name. All these are found in the metadata that we have been configuring. You can also choose to a way of separating analytic digit groups. It can be a space, comma, or you might not want to separate by anything. So you can just select none. You can also select if someone requires authority to add or view object list, then you have to make sure this is selected. We also have a place where we can change the logos of the instance. This goes back to the branding of the instance, and we have two logos, the login page logo, but also the top menu logo. But something that you should be careful on this is that for the meantime, it only accepts images that are PNG and not any other format. If you attach an image that is not a PNG format, then you won't be able to see the changes. I mean, like the images won't be stored and captured into the system. Maybe we should try, let's say, the login page, change into something else. Could go for, let's say we have this HISP, and the top menu to be, let's say, flower. So if I log out, see, now I have a different image, which is HISP-TZ. But again, if I log in, okay. So let's go back to the system settings. What else are we remained with? So yeah, that is more or less of the logos you could attach into the system. Can now move to the email settings. As mentioned, DHIS2 also supports communication via emails, but you need to make sure that everything is well configured. And under the email settings, you have to provide the host name of your emails. Make sure you provide the correct port. For instance, this is 587, belongs to a certain port. I believe it's Gmail. And you can also, you have to also attach the username of your email and password. Then by ticking the TLS, this is more into security purposes. If it's not ticked and you happen to receive email address, I mean, if you happen to receive an email from the system, it will just go and be dumped as a spam because it won't be identified, it won't be secure enough. So by ticking this, it's where you can overcome such possible scenarios to happen, like you receive emails but they get into spam. Again, we have some settings on the access. By the time we were starting this academy, each of you was asked to self-register into the DHIS2 platforms that we will be using. One of it was the exercise instance and a training instance for practice purposes. And that was possible because this whole self-registration account was enabled. If you disable self-registration, that means even you won't be able even to see the link to self-registration. But by enabling that, you have to you have to make sure that it's attached to a user role that you want by the time people are self-registering themselves to be attached to that user role. So if I select data entrant, that means each account that will be created via self-registering will be provided with the user role of data entrant. But you cannot enable that without making sure that you have also selected the organization unit that you want that account to be attached to. I remember we all remember these user role issues and organization units where Prosper had taken us through while configuring the users into the system. So by selecting training land and data entrant, that means if you click the create account link there, you'll be directed to the page where you provide your demographic information, name and everything else. But by default, you'll be assigned to data entrant user role, and you'll be able to capture data you'll be assigned the organization unit of trading land because this is what has been assigned on the settings. You can also required to have reCAPTCHA while doing the self-registration. This is more or less to prove yourself if you're not a robot, but this has been disabled. By ticking this means you're disabling that. However, by default, it comes enabled. So if you click that, that means you disable. You won't require to use this feature of reCAPTCHA. Again, we have enable user account recovery in case you need to there are some issues to the user account and you want users to be able to recover this. If this is enabled, it will only work if you have the email settings well configured and make sure that they're working so that all the links and everything and instructions for the recovery, they'll be sent to the email. You can also lock user account temporarily after multiple failed login attempts. And this is normally done or by taking this, that means if you log in 5 times consecutive with credentials that they are not correct, that means automatically the system will lock you and you won't be able to log in for a couple of 15 minutes, and after that you should be able to log in again, but make sure you have the correct login credentials. You can also allow users to grant own user role. If this is not selected, that means, for instance, I'm a system administrator and I want to create another user of the system, but I want that person to be a system administrator as well. But if this is not selected, that means I won't be able to grant a system administrator user role to any other user in the system. Unless ticked, that means I'll be able to grant someone else the same user role that I have. Also, you can allow assigning objects to related objects during add or update. All those by the time you're doing updates, let's say to maybe an organization unit or a data set, then you should be able to assign objects that are related to it. Could be an organization unit group set or anything related to. Okay, so you can also require user account password change. Depending on how you want to operate your DHIS2 instance, you can maybe want users to change their password after every certain time. It can be 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. Not less than 3 months or not more than 12 months. Or rather, you might not want to at any point ask them to change. However, now, if this has been selected to 3 months, and you might want to enable this so that they can have an alert by the time their passwords they're about to expire. Otherwise, if it's never, then you don't have any alert to send to users. You can as well select, configure a number of passwords, characters that you want for your users in the system to be using. For instance, this has been configured with 8, which is the minimum one. But if you want 14, you can as well configure 14 to be the minimum characters in every system user's password. OpenID provider and OpenID provider label, these are mostly used when you don't want to only restrict login credentials, but rather you can use other credentials from other platforms to log into the system. Yeah, so CCORS. These are mostly cross-origin resource sharing. In case you want to share resources across servers or different domains, then you'll have to make sure that you capture some URLs as well for this, for the servers or the domains that you want to operate with. You can also configure the type of calendar that you want to use in your DHIS2 system. And we have a couple of them as seen on the list, but for this, we are using the international one. And having the international calendar, you can also set the date format, either starting with year, month, days, or days, month, year. That depends on what you want. Okay, we all know that DHIS2 also allows data import from another system. It can be a DHIS2 system, for instance, from a ministry DHIS2 system to a donor system, or either way around. But by the time you're importing, you might want to ensure that the period type of the data sets you're trying to import into your system, they match from where you're getting from. We might not need to import data. Let's say I have a data set that captures data monthly, and yet I'm trying to import a data set that captures data in quarterly basis. So you might want to ensure that such things match before you import your data. That applies to data elements. You need to make sure that your data elements, they are part of the data set, as well as your category combos match. You wouldn't want to import something that is not well aligned. This goes all the way down to category attributes. Remember when on the data set, we had also created some category attributes that were enabling to have, if you have more than one organization, or we have more than one organization and it cuts across to different partners. Let's say you have a ministry, it has a couple of partners, or you have a project and it has different partners. So to enable that and make sure that data doesn't get interfered, because they'll all be using a single data set, but also they'll be capturing data on the same period. So if that is not well configured, you might find yourself that the other one overwrites the data of the existing data. So that was mainly, it's mainly used to make sure that each of the partner captures their data without interference. This is also as well, by the time you're importing, you need to make sure that these are well aligned so that you cannot mess up the data of different partners. We also have the synchronization settings, and this is more or less if you need to synchronize the DHIS2 data to another server. And this is where you have to capture the destination server where you'll be synchronizing data to. That will be the URL, the username, and the password. And we might also need to make sure that you don't sync data unless versions of the metadata and the DHIS2 itself are well aligned We wouldn't want to synchronize data to different versions because versions come with more of upgraded features, and at some point, if you're synchronizing and things are not on the same page, they might result into some effects or some issues into the data that you're trying to import. Auth2 clients, these are more or less configured to enable access to the system that are more or less using the token. For instance, what we have on the normally called QR codes or any other token that you want it to be attached to your account, and make sure that you are able to log into the system using that token. So that covers the system settings. And let's go to the data administration. As mentioned earlier, we also have a couple of items under the data administration, and these are one of them. We'll just go through one at a time. So for the integrity, this is normally used to check within the system, and it will provide you, if you run this, it will go check across the system or your DHIS2 instance and provide you with a summary of your metadata statuses. That could be in different aspects. For instance, all this with red, that means there's something, we have an issue on this thing. Maybe it says the data elements without data set. That means we have this malaria case in community, malaria cases in community is a data element in our system, but it doesn't belong to any of the data set. So this could be useful in case you need to do some cleaning to your instance. So you might want to run this and have a status of each and make sure that you don't remove something that still has, it's useful to the system, but rather they remove things that are no longer useful in the system. Again, you can also, this also helps you to get a status of which data elements are not grouped, and you might look at them and make sure that they are grouped. So there are so many information that can be provided under the data integrity. We also have the maintenance functionality. This is more or less to improve the performance of the system and make sure that things are loading correctly. Like at some point you might have stored your zero values in your analytic tables and you no longer want them, then you can just come here under the maintenance and clear them up so that you could make sure that your database has enough space and it operates well to improve the performance. There are so many, and you can also clear the application cache as well in case you need to see some changes, or you need to now make sure that you retrieve data direct from the server. We also have the resource tables. We normally generate resource tables maybe after making some changes to our metadata, for instance, the category options, category combinations, data elements. So to make sure that things, they get back into alignment, you might want to run the resource tables so that by the time you're proceeding with other system operations, they are all in sync as per the new updates. Now we have the analytics tables as well. This is normally used to make sure that you process data and they are available in the analytic tables so that you are able to visualize them in the analysis apps. For instance, if I have captured data today, and my analytic table, my analytics has been configured to run maybe midnight. And then that means that if I need to access those data right now, in my analytic tools, I won't be able to see those data because they have not yet been processed and be arranged into the analytic tables so that the analysis tool can send their request to the tables and be able to fetch what is available in the tables. Normally, it's advisable to have the analytics run during the midnight because midnight is where people are not using the system. So it's easy to make sure that everything is retrieved from the database and aligned into the tables for further uses. But again, analytics can also be configured to be run in a certain interval as per your needs. For instance, for this academy, we know everyone gets to do the exercise on his or her own time, and you need to see your data just after you have entered your data into the data entry. So we had configured the analytics to run after every 5 minutes. But that was possible, and we did that because it's a very small instance with very few data. So that is why we managed to do that. But for the realistic databases that we are using in the real world, we would really recommend the analytics to be run during the midnight when people are not using the system. So you can also get the data statistics for your instance per object type. For instance, if I just click here, I'll be able to see how many users had logged into the system for the last 1 hour, or today, how many have logged into the system until to the last 30 days. This can be useful again to monitor if your people are using the system or not. You can also get so many information around here, how many data values were captured for the last 1 hour, for the last 30 days, how many indicators do we have, and so many information, a summary of information. Log exception. This is normally used to enable some data sets that have been logged. Remember that by the time we were creating a data set, we had a place where you had to enter a value and make sure that your data set gets locked after a certain period of time. Now, for instance, my data set was locked and I am not able to enter data, for instance, mainly for like 3 months from where I am. That marks, let's say I need to capture data for July, and this time around I'm in August. That means I'll not be able to enter any data to my data set for July. So to enable that, I'll just come under the lock exception, under the administration, data administration, and make sure that I create a new lock exception, select the data set. Let's say it's a MCH data set for a certain district, or it could be a facility. Let's say it's a bar district, and I get to enter year for when. Let's say for 2020, which month? Maybe for July. If I get that configured, add, then if you go back to the data entry, you should be able to capture data for July 2020. You can as well generate the maximum and minimum values in your database, but this is not feasible on your interface, but rather it's more connected to the database, so you won't be able to directly see it here. So yeah, that marks the end of DHIS2 system settings. I know there are so many issues to look at. I'll just share documentation on this. You should be able, I'll just upload it into the EDX and you should be able to retrieve this. The documentation, and you can just use it whenever you want to, or rather you can just also peruse to make sure that you understand more. Thank you. In case there are questions.
I hope that won't be part of the exam.
Yeah, that will not be part of the exam. These things, there's so many, you'll have to interact with them now and then to make sure that you understand them well. And at some point, you might not even be using them in nearly most of the time. So yeah, it won't be part of the exam, my friend, so don't be worried.
That is very comforting. Thank you so much.
You shouldn't be scared, Levi.
No, I wasn't. I was just concerned.
All right. So I think let's just take a 5-minute break, then get back to the Q&A session. But again, for those who have not ticked on the attendance register for today, please do so. Please do so. You might want this 1 mark for the attendance in order for you to pass. So do not ignore it, please. So let's get back at 5 minutes after this. So that means 4:15. Okay, so I hope we are all back. This is a Q&A session, so please, you can just ask questions. You can raise a hand. It might not be necessarily for the today's session, but it can cover the previous session. But may I first of all respond to one of the issues most of you have been experiencing on the data set. Many people have been asking that they cannot see their data sets on the data entry, or others can just see the data set, but they cannot enter data into their data sets. So please make sure that your data set has been assigned to the organization units that you had created on the organization unit assignment. Plus, make sure you share that data set to yourself. I think we had a session on metadata sharing. So make sure you share the data set to yourself and grant the access to capture data. Then you should also make sure that you have shared all the category options to yourself. And again, grant the access to capture data. Then you should be able to see your data set or the data entry, but also be able to capture data. Thank you. Okay,
Hello.
I see concern how to share. Maybe I should share my screen and show you how that can be done. 2 minutes for that. Maybe someone else could proceed with the while I check up on the instance.
Khadija. A quick feedback.
Yes.
I saw some kind of questions. I think before I left you the session, I asked if there are questions, but on the chat, I see people have questions. For example, Aisolwa said, I have question. I also have question about dashboard. Maybe they could also post or at least say their question, and then we can address them. While, for example, I can give Aisolwa, if you are still around, you could actually say your question. While Aisolwa is preparing to say the question, I would like to tell you that we have assignment for dashboard. If you go to the OpenEDX, there is an assignment for dashboard where you have very simple 3 questions, where you just need to create a dashboard, populate with the dashboard item, share with another user. So please also attend to this particular exercise. Aisolwa?
Hello, Wilfred, and thank you. So my question was around what you were doing at the time when you were demoing the dashboards that you are assigning to a user. And then when you're trying to load it, it couldn't load. So my question was, is it the reason why it can't load is that you had assigned specific org units, maybe level 2 org units to that particular user. And then as such, you needed to filter for those units in the dashboard. So what I've seen in my own implementations is that if I assign a user a level 2 org unit, when they land on the first dashboard, they have to first filter to that specific maybe region or district or whatever to be able to view those dashboards. And then from there, they can start having updated dashboards. But the thing is, once they log out, they have to do the same process again to filter for that particular chosen region and then be able to view that. So my question also linking onto that was then to say, is it possible to not have to filter every time, such that each user, in as much as you can have standard dashboards developed for someone at level 1, level 2, level 3, once they log into the dashboards, they don't necessarily need to filter, or it's a requirement that they need to filter and select their particular level before they can start viewing the dashboards. Thank you. So that's just my first question.
You have also a second question before?
Yes, yes. The second question is that when you're developing dashboards, how best can one optimize how they appear? If I'm using my laptop to develop the dashboards, I'll then fit the charts as wide as possible to take up the space that's available on my screen, right? And then when I'm then sharing the dashboards on a bigger screen, say on a projector or a wide screen TV, for instance, during a presentation, you find that there's no optimal use of space. Then there's maybe leading spaces to the right of the dashboard because of the screen that I was using when I was developing the dashboards. So is the optimal way of customizing the charts to auto fit and fill up the space as much as possible. And then when I change from screen to screen, they just optimally adjust to fit that screen. Is there a way we can remedy that? And is there something that I'm missing? And the last question is about what Khadija just touched on. I'm having the same challenge also. I've done everything, shared the data set with myself, and I've also shared the category combinations with myself, even went on to share the data elements with myself, but I'm still not able to capture. So those are all my questions. It's just 3 of them. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for the 3 questions. I will attend to the 2 and then I'll leave the third to Adija. I'll start with the last one. So basically, when you are creating your dashboard, as I kind of demonstrated, you just need to make sure that it fills a little bit in your screen. I understand you're saying that you might find that you have designed your items in one screen, but if you go to another one, they seems a little bit kind of not fitting the screen. So sometimes that happens, but the important part is when you're designing it, you need to ensure that the items are more or less fitting in your particular screen. When you kind of view that particular dashboard in another screen, the DHIS2 will try to recalibrate and ensure that those dashboard items at least fits with your screen. If you have, of course, moved your screen from one, move your dashboard from one screen to an extended screen, that might be a little bit of problematic, but you can also refresh it, and then DHIS will try to kind of recalibrate the size of the dashboard item. I think that is something which we also have seen in a while. For the first question, I think I actually kind of went on and investigated, and it was telling me that that user is not really assigned to the training land, or more or less to the parent unit. So it was kind of remembering. I tried to clear the cache and everything, but it still was more or less forcing that particular chart is referenced to that parent. So I think this is something which we might need to report it and fix, because when you put it as a user organization unit, then it needs to be more relative. So whoever logs in, it needs to pick off the org unit of the user. That should not be a problem. I think we'll have to address it and see if it's a bug or something. But it should be able to understand that the user is from this particular unit and reflect that, and not necessarily the user going and filter every time. I think that is something not what it was designed to do. So we'll report this and we'll have to fix it up.
Okay, thanks, Wilfred.
Adija, there was a question for you.
On the data set, right?
No, about today's session. Ayisolo, can you repeat the third question?
Okay.
Yes, it's about the issue of having to capture. I'm failing to capture. If I go to the data entry app and try and capture, I'm failing to capture any values. So Then I went on to share everything with myself, from the data set, the category options, to the data elements, everything. But still, it's not capturing. Cleared my cache, logged in, logged out, still nothing. So I'm still experiencing the same challenge. Thank you.
So if I got you correct, is that you have a data set, you're able to access it on the data entry,
Yes, that's correct.
but you cannot enter data to that data set.
Yes, that's correct.
Is it the entire data set or just the fields that they have categories?
So if I'm looking at it as I'm looking at it now, it's the fields that have, it's all of them basically, but they are behaving somewhat differently. The ones with category combinations are sort of locked. The ones with numeric values without category combinations, I can click on them and highlight a bit of green.
Sorry, Aisha. Let me give you access to share your screen so that you can move together.
Okay, no problem. So I'm sharing my screen now. Should be coming up. I'm sure you can see it. So please let me know when you can see it, then I will start.
Okay, I can see the screen.
Oh, okay, great. So this is my screen. It's showing all sections. If I come to the live births, nothing is happening. If I come to the numerical values without combinations, I can click on it, but I'm not able to capture. So I'm typing on my keyboard now.
Okay.
Nothing is happening.
So click, go to maintenance.
Let me just do that. It's loading now.
Go to data set.
Yeah.
Right click, sharing. You click the pencil like, so you have given access to yourself either. Didn't you at some point, okay, go back, close.
Okay.
Just click the data set. Scroll, you move it, no, you go a bit slow.
Okay, let me know whether
It doesn't have, it doesn't have expiry days either. Scroll. Okay, and you have shared to yourself each of the metadata, both categories.
Yes,
Okay.
I can just quickly go to that now and show you and sample a few for you just to see what I've done. So category.
If it was a point of just category options, you at least you would be able to capture data on the data elements without categories.
Yeah, I've done that.
Did you have opening date in your organization units and close date?
Let me just check. Navigate to exercise. And find. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to find exercise region here in the navigation bar.
It's there.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
And then navigate to myself. And then maybe start with the one at the top, right?
Yeah, let's see that. Opening date, it's August. Can you at least go to January 2020?
All right, let me just quickly change that. And then I'll save that. Should I change for all of them or maybe just the one for district and capture district?
No, you just go to another, you go to the facility as well.
Change those.
Okay, you can make it either January or February. But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it's fine.
Let's quickly do all of them.
You can just test one of it first.
Oh, okay. I hear you.
Yeah. So just clear cut and let's see if that works. Clear cut first.
Oh, okay. Go there. Maybe the district because we changed it. It seems the numerical values are fine now, but for the category combinations, they seem not to be. But let me pick a lower level facility and see. Yeah, the same applies for, I'm sure I can capture here. And
User doesn't have right answer. Let's go back to, can you scroll fast up? Up.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to maintenance.
Okay.
Categories.
Categories.
Category, I mean category option, not category. Sorry.
Okay,
Category
no
option.
problem.
So click on female, right click, sharing. I mean, click on the pencil-like icon.
Oh, okay.
You grant yourself access to capture.
Okay.
Do the same to mail. I hope, Hilarious, you are also seeing on how to share data, because I've seen you have a question on that.
Oh, I see. So it's not consistent in the way it grants access by default.
No close. Then go to implementing partner A.
Implementing partner A. Implementing partner B. And then are we done? Maybe just to check the other ones. I think that's my problem.
Let's just check first if that works. Close, clear cache, and let's go back to data entry. Clear cache first.
Okay. It seems to be.
Yeah.
Just
So you have more than one issue. What is happening again? User does not have right access to attribute option combo.
Let me see what that refers to. Because the only attribute option combo that I have, or the only attribute combination that I have, is the partner, implementing partner. That's the only one that probably will be throwing that option. Let me just check here and see if it's corrected. Yes, it's corrected. And The same applies with this one, I think. Yeah. So these are fine from this end. I don't know where probably I'm missing it.
I'm not sure if you have the access to.
Let me have come here too and just double check. Yeah, just double checking.
The organization unit that we have selected on the data entry, is it the same that we've just updated?
Yeah, we updated 2 or 3. I can try another one quickly and see if that one works. Yeah, same error. Go on to another one because we did the district and I think about 2 facilities or so. Is closed. So this one says this one is closed for the selected period. So I think it's one of the ones that we didn't change in terms of opening date. And then, yeah. So these are the ones that are fine. Cape Town and Joburg. They allow me to capture, but it's throwing this error.
Wait, don't click anything. User does not have criteria.
Should I screen grab it? Because it disappears.
Okay, maybe you could send me that error message if you're able to capture it.
Okay. I'll just quickly, I've managed to print my screen. I'll shoot it to your email just now.
Okay. But I've observed a couple of issues. Perhaps they could be the same mistakes. Others are also, if others have also done the same mistake. Make sure that the opening date to your facility that is not greater than the time that you want to capture data. For instance, you have just opened a facility in August, but yet you need to capture data for July, May, or June. Realistically, that is not possible. So make sure that the organization unit opening date is resolved. Again, make sure you have shared to yourself all the category options as well as the data set itself. And by sharing, it's just not that you look for your name and click share. You have to go back and make sure which access do you grant to yourself. Grant yourself the access to capture data as well. Other than that, it should be working. I'm not sure of ISO, perhaps it could be an application catch, but if those 2 key things have been configured well, you should be able to access your data set and you should be able to capture data. I hope other members with the same concern have also been able to see the solutions to that. Meanwhile, you're proceeding with that ISO. I see we have some hands up from Masao.
I can stop sharing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I've sent you the screenshot. It should hit your inbox pretty soon.
All right.
Cheers.
Hi, Adija. I have a question on it, on a system setting.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just about the password reset. Like when you log in, sometimes a user can fail to or forget a password. So how can you set in the system setting where a user can reset a password by his or herself? I didn't see that the option while instructing us on how to set the DHIS to password changes, something like that, yeah.
So if one wants to change the password by him or herself, then that means you should enable the recovery. And for the recovery option to work, you need to sort of make sure the email settings are well configured. so that you could attach, just like other platforms, the way they operate. Let's say, for instance, you're registering yourself in, maybe you're creating a, it could be a Gmail account. There's a place we normally put in an email, a backup email. In case anything goes wrong, then the instructions possibly could be on recovery or a link to recovery. They are sent to that backup email where you could access and you'll be able to reset, so that when you get back, you're able to access via your new passwords. So it's the same to DHIS2. You need to make sure that you have configured the email settings and users are able to receive emails. And in case of anything, they should be able to receive an email, and the links to resetting, they'll be sent to an email. Alternatively, the system administrator will have to go and overwrite the previous password and share the new password to the user.
Yeah, Aditya, the issue was on overwriting, that sometimes you can find a couple of, requests comes over and you have to solve them in the time. So I was thinking like the first option would be better. Thank you.
All right. Do you have more questions, or I should lower your hand? Okay, we have another question from Bokete.
Hi, Hadija.
Hi, okay.
My concern, I think I saw Wilfred responding to Salman in the chat box regarding the fact that we can't see our data now when you're trying to create the dashboards, or even just going to the pivot tables and all. And I saw that somewhere here saying they've run analytics now, but the data is still not showing. So I'm hoping maybe we can give it a bit of time for that. Maybe we'll see the data as time goes on. But I still have a bit of concern. Maybe you remember that for the assignment, is it for the data set, you changed the questions or how they were structured and all to remove some of the things there. So I was wondering if it's still the same, because from that screen, it seemed like he managed to do how you guys probably wanted it to be like at first before changing the exercise.
Is that all?
Yes.
Okay, so I am not sure if Wilfred wants to respond on issues of data. But as you have said, if the analytics has been run, then you should be able to see the data. Let me just look at the instance. And on the part of dataset assignment, yes, we had updated, but some of the participants had already done the assignment based on the previous instructions. But that won't be marked, won't be part of the assessment, since the dataset was updated and that was not part of the updated dataset. So it's not part of it doesn't have a mark on the assessment. Does that make you comfortable?
Yes, but I would just one quick question. For the data, I think it's the data set assignment that I submitted using PDF. And from the response I got, I think when you guys were trying to mark it, you were saying it could not be open in either a PDF or Word. So I was wondering this time around how should I submit it, because the previous two assignments, I submitted them on PDF, and I think you guys didn't have a problem with that.
Okay, so you had a feedback from facilitator that your document was not be able to be opened.
Yes, that's what I received, and I should resubmit in a format that they can be able to open, because it was PDF like for day one and day two, but for that data set assignment, I also used PDF, but they said they could not open it.
Okay, so yeah, that's noted. I'll make a follow-up on that.
Adija, for those who were complaining about not being able to view the data, kindly confirm if you are able to view your data, and if not, we can further investigate, because the analytics has run. If you don't see your data, please clear your cache and then try to see your data either in the dashboard or in the analytics tools. This is a pivot table, at least data visualizer. If you can see the data there, then definitely it should be able to be viewed in the dashboard. So please try to see there. I also saw Aung King say that I have a question about dashboard. I'm not so sure if his or her question has been addressed already.
Okay, thank you. So my question about the dashboard is that, in the dashboard, for the, if we put the pivot table in the dashboard and then we, insert the legend in it. And if we like to, because of, the color of the legend didn't describe that in the pivot table, so that, I would like to, insert a Covey, insert the picture into in the dashboard. What I mean is that the red color is what is value I would like to indicate that. So that's for the dashboard question. And I have another question, but it's about related to analytic table. So should I continue my question or should I pause?
Let me respond to this, and then you can ask also other questions. So if I got you correct, you wanted to insert a legend of the description of your legend in the pivot table, so that when a person views that that pivot table, he understands that these color codes are based on a specific legend. Is that right?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Yeah. So that's a very good feature. I think we should try to accommodate that. So far right now, that is not possible to have a legend inserted there. You will see that the pivot table with the legend, and if you want to view it more, I think you need to go into the legend and something else. I think this is something which we can also put it as a feature where you could actually see the legend, same thing as what you see in the maps. So I think I'll take it down, and then I will also communicate with others how best we can have this legend display to the user. So thanks for that comment, and we'll take it up so that we accommodate that in the either this feature or later versions.
Okay, thank you too. And right now, could we insert the picture and insert the image in the dashboard right now?
What do you mean insert an image? Just image from outside or image from I mean, where
image
does that...
from outside? Yeah.
Oh, you want to attach a specific image here?
Yes, in the dashboard. Yes.
Interesting. So basically, right now, attaching a specific image, it's I mean, you can actually attach. You can do it in a very difficult way, because you have there's an ability to attach certain apps within your dashboard. But now I think the best which you can do is either you can have your image as a resource. There's actually a resource report. Let me just do something. Let me just okay, let me okay, good. Let me project here, and then I will show you something.
Great, thank you. And I will go to the next question regarding the analytic table then. So for the analytic table update, you know, like if we leave it as it is, like if we don't, you know, update it manually. So how often does this update automatically, and you know, what's the duration for it?
Sorry, you said update. Can you repeat that?
Oh yeah, I mean the analytic table, you know, like in the analytic table update, analytic table management, like if we just, you know, we don't manually update this, but, you know, just leave it automatically update. So I mean, I would like to know, you know, what's the duration of for this analytic table to be automatically updated? Yeah.
Okay, good. We'll answer that. So one thing is which we didn't cover is a certain, as you can see, I'm hoping you can see everybody. We have many applications here which we have not really kind of covered them. And one of the applications which we have not covered is a report application. And it has a couple of features. One of the feature of this particular report is either you could have these standard reports, which you develop your own reports, custom report, and then display that. You could have a data set report, which kind of displays reporting rates. Displays the data in based on the data set which you have created. And then, of course, the reporting rates, which displays, of course, the reporting rates of your information. We have also this resource. So resource here is a place where we can add some files or links. So you could actually add some files here, and then they will be more or less available for the user. For example, if I want to add a specific file, let's say I call it a map image. Yes, upload file here, say external URL or upload file. Yes, I want to upload file. Select a file. I'll just pick it up here as one of it won't need to be as a PDF, but I want it to be like an image. So you could actually have your image as a PDF here. For example, I could just say I've attached here my PDF, and then I've saved it here as a resource. I'm hoping you can see here a map image. And then when you go to the dashboard, you could actually add this map image as one of the items in your dashboard. So it won't be shown as an image, but these line listing will be here. So if I can edit here, which one is this? This is immunization. Can edit here. I can say map image, the resources here. If I can just insert it, it will appear as it appears here. So basically, if you want to save certain images, which or more or less documents which you need to be accessible for your user, you could have here a list of these image or documents here listed, and then the user will kind of click it here, and then they will get access of these particular document or images. It's not exactly what you wanted in terms of visualizing here a particular image, and then you just paste it in the dashboard, because basically what we want is to view the information which you have entered into the system. So that kind of takes away the ability of monitoring your indicator, because the image will be static. Now, coming back to the analytics part. Now, the new versions, I think, Hadija, did you cover this? Yeah. So there is an application here called Scheduler, where you could actually schedule your analytics. So this application called Scheduler kind of schedules some of the applications which you have, so that you can actually schedule your analytics, and of course everything. Maybe you schedule it once in a day, once in a week, once in a month, and etc. And then you can schedule it and specify exactly when should the analytics go. So the scheduler application allows you to schedule multiple things, including the analytics. You can just say add, you can say system analytics. And then in the job type here, you need to say analytics table. So you need to actually specify this resource table and analytics table. And of course, specify either every day at midnight. If you want the custom, you can specify here, or if every day at 3 a.m., every week, or such. So if you say every day at midnight, there's kind of an expression written here. And then of course, you need to specify these other parameters. For example, if you want to skip certain tables when they are generating, if you want to skip resource tables, or of course, how many years back do you want this particular analytics table to run? Is it 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, or 1 year? So once you add this particular table, then the analytics will be running based on the frequency which you have specified. So this one, default one, but you can also do a custom one where you enter your own expression based on what we used to in the cron job. So it's more or less similar. For example, if I say each hour you have this kind of an expression. If I say every day at midnight, then it have this kind of expression. So there's also a format on how this expression will be structured. This is something which you could also look at it in the documentation user guide, where it kind of outlines how do you run your analytics. Yeah, let me stop there.
And thank you, Wilfred. Thank you. It's very valuable and resourceful. My last question is that what's the time zone the DHIS2 is based on? Thank you.
So, very good question. Time zone where DHIS2 is based on. So I think this is important. Depends with the system or server which you are hosting, DHIS2. So if you have configured well your server and it has a particular hours, then the DHIS2 will pick it from there and know exactly which time zone it needs to operate. I hope that is clear.
Yes, sure. Thank you. So what you mean is that, the time zone could be customized, depends on the hosting, right?
Yes. So there is no one universal time zone in the DHIS2 instance. So it takes up what you have set it up. So don't worry about having a different time zone. That is something which you can set up with your server and DHIS2.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay. So Adija, I still see some hands. Mokete, I think you also had already. I see hands from Mokete and Arafat.
For me, I was answered. I think the only thing that is still a concern is the fact that data is still not showing. So maybe it's something that you can look at.
No?
Arafat?
Yes, I have a question regarding reporting. Usually, I use reports application for dataset reporting, but sometimes it is requested that I provide an Excel report with one specific data set and all organization unit and for the different months. And I used to export data from import and export, and then I use other applications like Tableau or Power BI to do this. Is there any way that you can export data for one specific data set, like an easier way? Over.
Thanks. So if I understand you correctly, you need to export the data from a specific data set for a specific period, let's say last month, last quarter, last year, for specific facilities in Excel.
Yes.
If that is the case,
like raw
well,
data, not analytics.
Come again?
Raw data, not analytics. Like
yeah, the raw data. Yeah, the data elements. Yes. So basically, I would advise. You need it by facilities. So I would advise to create one favorite in your a pivot table, where you could actually have all the data elements belonging to that particular data set. And then, of course, you have the facilities. You generate that report based on the level of facility. And then, of course, once you generate that particular report, you could download that particular report as an Excel, and of course, use it for further analysis. I know sometimes when you're downloading these particular data by facility and all these data elements, it might be a little bit heavy, and it might a little bit break. So sometimes in the pivot table, once you have selected your options, there is actually an option where it tells you to download directly as a CSV. That's also something we actually use. Instead of generating the report and then download it, instead of updating it, you could actually click a download as a CSV option, where you can download that information without first generating that report. But if generating that report is feasible with your server, then generate that report, save it, and then you could continuously use it for future use as well. That is also something which you can use.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was not possible. I tried that and it was not possible. What I did is I created one SQL view, and then I get the data. But the problem is if I want to get the data, I have to export and then download the file and then go from one application to another. Is there a way to get the data to Excel, for example, so we can use Power Query or to just, to make it in a pivot or in a sort of, tabulation?
Yeah. How many facilities are we talking about?
150, but the problem is that the dataset contains almost 220 data elements.
Can you do it like section-wise, like one report having, couple of data elements and then the other one the same? So you have like 5 reports where you can download and then you can merge them in Excel. I think that could be something easier.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you.
Lombe, I see your hands up. Lombe Kalima.
Yes. All right. Yes. Yesterday, I've forgotten the name of the person. The facilitator was taking us through data sets, said that today he will show us how to use the attribute in our data entry, in our data sets for data entry for that partner A, partner B, and the ministry. Because I was getting the same, like almost the same error that Nkube was getting as well, of that pop-up from a time we stayed.
Lombe, are you still there? We seem to lost you there.
Yeah, Eric, Wilfred.
Yes.
I think he wanted a quick demo on how to create attributes that you use for the data set. Is Hassan in or ready to demonstrate that? Hassan?
Good evening, I think good evening everyone, and a good afternoon for those who maybe there is still afternoon to their places. I don't know if everyone can hear me. Prosper?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, okay, thank you. Let me just go quickly to demo on how to create data sets with the attributes. Can you see my screen? At least from one of you to confirm. Okay, thank you. So this is a data set that has been created already. So if you look at this point, you can see you can only filter by sections, maybe only MCH or this with this age category or all sections. Now, the question had been if you want to put like the options where the same data values, the same data elements are collected by more than one implementing partners or one organizations, how can this be done? So quickly, I go to maintenance. I have to create categories. Then I'll go to category. I'll create category options. So for instance, I have implementing partner A and B, or 1 and 2, I will create them here. So this is the first one. I can just click, you can see some of have been created. Now I can see there is implementing partner 1 and 2 already created. So I won't create again. So what I'm going to do, let me change the name, maybe implementing partner, let me call A. For the short name, let me copy the same name. We go to description, code, start date, and all those. So here, as you can see, there is start date and end date or assigned to a particular org units that you want this to be applicable, but because it will be carried by the data set, they will get used there. So I will save this one for the purpose of saving time implementing partner B. So I will simply right click and clone this one. It's like I'm producing a copy of this one and I can simply edit. So with that, I will have the two category options that implementing partner A and B. So I have to put them in the combination. So here I will say maybe implementing partners. Maybe let me put in this way, or I can differentiate by putting S. So it is not there. So I have to create the one implementing partner. Then here for the data dimensions, so we don't select disaggregation. So we are going to select attribute. So skip category total in reports. This is the options like the ones we were discussing in the data element and data set. So here I have like categories that has been created. I created this one, sorry, implementing partner. Let me go back. So no, I skipped this one. I have to create, after category option, I have to create categories. So I will simply create category. I will say implementing partner. Let me maintain the capital letter for every word. So let me add maybe implementing partners. Let's say maybe demo. Then I will say the same name. Description here, I want to describe maybe what is this category for. So maybe I will say it contains the implementing partners A and B for whatever. So here in the data dimension, I will select attribute and not disaggregation. I will leave this one selected. So here I will say, I will select my two category options that I created. So I'll take this one and this one. After that, I will save. You remember in the data set, there is option to include a category combination or not including. So with that, in order for this to be applicable in the data set, I have to create a category combination. So let me put this name. I will say maybe implementing partner. So I'll try to see if I will maintain the same name as for